everyone. Welcome to this week's Trinity Love Tuesday. And today we're going to talk a little bit about fasting versus dieting. So I'm not going to go in deep details about each one, but the fasting that I'm talking about is spiritual fasting, not intermittent fasting. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, where some people don't eat at the beginning of a certain amount of day for fitness reasons. I'm talking about spiritual fasting, where you eliminate certain distractions for a spiritual purpose in order for you to draw closer to God. And so that is the fasting that I'm referring to. And then with dieting, I'm not talking about going on a specific diet where it's like, the keto diet or whatever. That's probably not a good example, not the keto diet, but like when you're going on a 30-day diet or a temporary juice fast or a juice diet or whatever. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about your regular way of eating. So your diet. So if you're a vegetarian, you have a vegetarian diet, if that makes sense. So I'm using diet in that way. So I just wanted to give a little excerpt of what that meant so you guys know what I'm referring to. So when we're talking about fasting from food specifically, that's another thing I forgot to mention. I'm not talking about soul fast where we're fasting from social media or TV or something like that. I'm talking about the specific food fasting that we're doing for a spiritual reason. Some people do a Daniel fast. Some churches like to corporately do that, or personally, or you are fasting from certain food groups or things like that. So when we're talking about fasting, we are typically going to fast from something, if we're talking about food, from something that is a distraction in a way, but not necessarily bad for us. Versus if you are changing your diet, you are typically removing something permanently from your diet that is harmful to you. So if you find out that a certain type of fried food may be fried depending on the certain type of oil and the certain maybe meat that's used, maybe like chicken filled with antibiotics and whatever, pumped with all that negative stuff, artificial chicken, fried in like canola oil, which is very toxic grease, you decide to cut that out of your diet, that should be a permanent cut because you've already figured out that that is not good for you. Your body cannot digest that well. It's not even real food. So you are permanently cutting that from your diet. Not going on a diet, but permanently cutting that from your diet. If you were going to fast, you would not choose that because fasting isn't about cutting out things that you shouldn't be eating anyway. Same thing, if we are talking about a soul fast, you wouldn't, I don't even know if this would be considered a soul fast, but if you're fasting from, say you're fasting from doing certain activities, you're fasting from, like I said, social media or watching TV, right? Those are things that aren't always harmful, but you're just, during that time that you're fasting, you are choosing to remove some of the time that you spend doing certain things and replace that time with more devotional, dedicated time with God, if that makes sense. So you wouldn't fast from having premarital sex, right? That should be out of your spiritual diet, period, if you're not married, period, right? So you don't fast from sin. And so, whereas if you're dieting or, not dieting, I'm trying to get my terminology together. So if you are abstaining from something in your diet that you know is harmful for you, if we want to stretch it, that's technically sin. Because you know that it's bad for you, so you should remove it away from you. Because at that point, you're not treating your body like a temple if you're intentionally eating something that you know without a shout of a doubt that is bad for you. I hope I'm making sense. It makes sense in my head, and it made sense when I wrote all my notes out. But as I'm explaining it, I'm trying to make sure that it makes sense. So I want us to focus on the things that nourish us spiritually, physically, mentally, all of that. And when we're talking about fasting, you're going a step deeper. You are not abstaining or temporarily removing things that are detrimental for you, because those things should be removed permanently. You don't fast from sin. You don't fast from foods that you shouldn't be eating anyway. So meat is not bad for you. Read the Bible for those of you who think that meat is bad for you. There are certain meats that are bad for you because of how they are raised in the farms or what they are pumped with in factories and stuff like that. That is what makes types of meat bad for you. But meat itself, if it is actually cared for correctly, is not bad for you, right? So cutting meat out of your diet for a fast is something special that you're doing to connect with Christ, because fast should be challenging. So it should be a challenge, but you're not doing it because meat is bad for you, if that makes sense. Same thing with sugar. An excess of sugar, specifically artificial bleached sugar, is bad for you. But sugar from fruits and pure cane sugar that is not genetically modified in any way, or it's not bleached, or whatever the craziness that they do with sugar and some of these artificial sweeteners, the regular pure sugar is fine. But if you are taking out sugar for a fast, that is as dedication to God, because it's a challenge, not because the thing that you're fasting from is a sin or is bad for you or is harmful for you. So that was just on my heart to talk about, because sometimes when I hear people talk about fasting and cutting things out of their diet, sometimes people talk about it as if it's the same thing, and it's actually really not. And I just wanted to encourage us to really think about those differences and how we're honoring God with our body 24/7 outside of a fast. And, when we are choosing things to fast from, how we're taking that a step deeper. I just want to encourage us, when we are thinking about changing our lifestyle and changing what we eat, we are treating our bodies as a temple 24/7. So you aren't supposed to just treat your body like a temple when you're fasting. You're supposed to treat your body like a temple all of the time. So those things that you're cutting out as you're changing your lifestyle, those are things that should be permanently cut out. Whereas when it comes to fasting, you're not eliminating things permanently that are bad for you. You're just eliminating certain things that you might really like, or that you might be overdoing it with. And so you're fasting to cut back on that. And when you incorporate those things back into your diet when the fast is over, you'll be incorporating them back in with a more balanced mindset, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions or want me to elaborate on anything else, then you can leave that in the comment section. But I just wanted to bring that up because I do want to do a corporate fast in March along with our virtual book club. So those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, watch last Thursday's video. But a quick excerpt of that is that I want us to do a virtual book club in March, and we're going to be reading Crazy Love by Francis Chan. So there's that, but I want that to be incorporated with the fast, and I'll go into more of those details when I have our reading plan ready, and then I'll talk a little bit more about fasting specifically. But again, I'll talk more about that as we are prepping for our March fast. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and remember to love always. Bye. I am yours and you are mine.